Alrighty, it is 3 p.m. and we are live with our next episode of Gaming Tonic. Thank you so much to every single person here who came out to support us and hang out today and enjoy the show. Hopefully you guys have as good of a time as we will. My name is Just Vince. I'm one of your hosts today. It is great to have you guys here, and this is...
I am the Ordinary Joker, and today we'll be talking about cross-platform gaming. We have a quick summary of the history of crossplay. We got some relevant games we'd like to discuss, and then we'll give you our opinions on crossplay.
Yep.
Other than that, man, how's your week been? What you been up to?
Dude, my week has been awesome. My internet has been working perfectly. I have had no more reasons to flame Spectrum or call customer support and harass them or have more technicians out to my house. So, praise that it's working regularly and that everything has been going just fine. World of Warcraft pre-patch finally dropped this week, so I've been playing quite a bit of World of Warcraft. Hit up some Apex with the homies this week, played a little bit of Smash, and yeah, that's pretty much been my week. Just like prepping everything for Sunday. Birthday stream is happening, so big hype on that one. So on Sunday, for anybody who wants to get in on it, I already have a couple of people who've mentioned interest in this. I will be playing Among Us for the first time, and I will be doing a birthday stream. This is Sunday tomorrow, so it's going to be October the 18th, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So for anybody who wants to come out to that, play some Among Us, play some other games that we're going to be playing, we're going to have a good time starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So hopefully I will see you guys there, and that has been my week so far. What about you? What have you been doing this week? What have you been working on?
I have been playing Dead by Daylight again. A whole lot of Smash. Steve just came out and I hate him. Yeah, definitely. And then I did on Friday an Amazon stream. I budgeted out $100 and I bought a bunch of Mimi stuff, like a shirt that says Daddy and some herpes medication.
I think you also did you end up getting the Nicolas Cage pillow?
I did. I got the pillow, yeah, and a pair of socks. I don't know if you saw the socks.
Wait, socks.
We got some Nick Cage socks too, yeah.
I don't think I saw the socks, but that sounds incredible. Who doesn't need Nicolas Cage socks in their life?
Yeah,
let's be honest. Literally no one. See
the rest of what you missed in the Sunday video events. Oh, pog.
I'll say, you're uploading that tomorrow on your YouTube channel, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. All right. So for anybody who didn't get to catch the Amazon stream, be sure to catch that on Joker's YouTube channel. So this week, we're talking about cross-platform play. Cross-platform gaming, cross-play, whatever term it is that you want to use to describe your ability to play the same game with people on different platforms. That's what we're talking about. Whether it's PC, Xbox, PS4, Switch, mobile, whatever it is, we're talking about it. We want to discuss it. We want to hear, our thoughts on it. We've got some things to share about the history of it, and I think it's going to be cool. I'm pretty excited for this week's episode because I think it's something that a lot of people have been asking for a long time that's really starting to come to fruition just in the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting to see the evolution of companies going, no, you can only play with people on our platform, into we want you to be able to play how you want to play anywhere that you can. We want to reach as broad of an audience as possible. And I think that, there's going to be a lot of things where you look at it and you're like, this game is as successful as it is because they were willing to be like, we want as many people playing our game as possible with their friends when they can, because it will keep them playing our games.
I agree. Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of that later with the opinion pieces. I'm excited to talk about my thoughts on crossplay.
All right, so to start out breaking this down, we're going to start off with the history of crossplay. So how much do you personally know about the history of crossplay?
Until we did research on it, I honestly knew nothing about the history of crossplay.
Same.
Except that it was a scarce thing, That's
yeah.
You can still see that today. There's really not that many games that are crossplay.
And I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't know nearly as much. I definitely didn't know how far it went back. So starting out, I don't know how many of you guys know this who are our listeners or our live viewers, but the Sega Dreamcast was actually the first console that you could crossplay with PC in games way back in the day. And that's crazy to me to think about, but games like 4x4 Evo, Quake 3 Arena, and Phantasy Star Online were really the first games to actually have crossplay where you could play on your Sega Dreamcast with players on PC. And the way that they did this was the console actually came with a 56 kilobytes per second, okay, because that was solid internet speed modem that would let you connect online through a home phone line. How you used to have to do dial up for internet and all that stuff. That was basically the system that they used. So all the way back in the day on your Sega, you could crossplay. And I don't think they realized what they had when they had it.
Yeah, dude. That's groundbreaking.
Seriously.
We're seeing that today.
Yeah, and that's what started it all, That was the first iteration of this. This was them being we think that this is something that could market our console well and make people want to buy our stuff. And Phantasy Star Online specifically, I mean, one of the like biggest, most popular, like almost MMO but not quite MMO games, like to hit Japan, like in the insanely popular sequel that finally released in the West, I think in 2019. Phantasy Star Online 2 came out, and like it's got a huge following. There's a lot of love for that game in the Japanese and Western community of people who enjoy MMORPGs, and that was one of the first titles to be able to do it. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's a shock to me at all that moving forward, a lot of the games that kind of pioneered that were MMO games that were
Mhm.
designed to be played online. So have you played any like I mean, have you played Quake?
I've never played Quake, but I know a bit about Quake, and I know how big it used to be back in the day. So
Yeah,
I respect Quake a lot.
personally, I was an Unreal Tournament guy. I did not play Quake. I played a lot of Unreal Tournament, but I mean, I've heard good things about Quake from all the people who used to play it, and I think that it's something that playing Quake on Sega versus PC players probably wouldn't have been the best time.
That's how I mean, even today you could say the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll get into that a little bit more later because that's going to be in the opinion piece. But moving on with the history here, Final Fantasy XI was the first
Mhm.
like fully fledged MMORPG to offer crossplay, and that released on May 16th in 2002. Did you ever play Final Fantasy 11?
I was 2 years old when that game came out. So no.
So you were there in line on launch day for Final Fantasy 11 in your diaper.
Yeah.
Correct. So you could crossplay between PlayStation 2 and PC. And I look at that and I'm like, man, realistically, trying to play an MMORPG game on my PlayStation 2 does not sound like a good time. Like, as someone who's used to having like all 12 of my buttons, I mean, I have an MMO mouse and it's got 12 buttons on the side of my mouse, and that makes it easier for me to play MMO games. Like, I would not want to do it on just a controller, but I think it's cool that the option was there. Now, the thing to see here is PlayStation did not require an online subscription to play games online at the time. You just plugged in your internet and it worked. So they did have to pay their online sub to Final Fantasy 11 though, and that was across PS2 and PC. So,
That's interesting.
I mean, looking back at something like this back then, I mean, would that be enough to make you go, I want to get this game because I can play with my friends on PC? I mean, like, assuming that it had come out today and it was the only game of its kind that was crossplay like that. I mean, is that something that you would want to do?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Honestly, like in the first like if my friends were playing a game and I played games primarily to play with my friends, I would just get the same console my friends were using. I wouldn't and I guess I got a whole lot of opinion coming out of me right now. I could talk about my thoughts on that all day, and we'll get there.
Yeah. And I mean, and I look at something like this and I'm like, it's cool, but I mean, the people who are playing Final Fantasy 11 who want to play Final Fantasy 11 are probably playing it on PC, honestly.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that the console market at that time for MMO games was pretty big, because that was before, like, that was a little bit before World of Warcraft. And
Mhm.
like, or it was, I'm trying to think, I think World of Warcraft was 2004. I'll have to double check the date on that. But I mean, like, I feel like MMOs hadn't quite blown up to that level in 2002, and definitely not on consoles. Like, nowadays you have a lot of console options like Elder Scrolls Online, you have Neverwinter, you have Final Fantasy 14 on the PlayStation 4, and like games that are kind of Black Desert Online, games that are a little more action oriented and designed to be played on a controller. Bless Unleashed, that had its Xbox release that was like a re-release of another MMO. Like games like that that are kind of made to be played with a controller. I don't think that Final Fantasy 11 was designed to be played with a controller, and I think that it might have had kind of a bad time. Yeah, World of Warcraft was in 2004, by the way. Had to double check that. But I think that realistically, you'd have a bad time compared to playing it on PC. I can't imagine it would have worked very well.
Absolutely. I feel that way today, man. I can't play I've been on PC so long, unless there's a game where it's like a remote is better here, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I will use mouse and keyboard, so that
Yeah,
that's where I stand on it.
strongly agree. So, I mean, moving on to the next bit of like crossplay history, and we're kind of jumping through like major things in crossplay history, just to be clear. Like, this might not be every single piece of information or every single game. This is just a rough rundown. We looked through like the Wikipedia page and did like some other research on like specific release dates for games and stuff like that. But Final Fantasy 14 released on September 30th, 2010, and you could crossplay between PlayStation 3 and PC. And I did try Final Fantasy 14 on PlayStation 4. I did not try it on PlayStation 3, but I did give it a shot, and I felt like the controls for that one were a little bit more intuitive, a little bit better, but it was still like hitting the directional pad to change your action bars, and your action bar buttons were set to like square, triangle, circle, L1, R2, like that sort of thing. And it was still like really clunky, but it worked. And it worked pretty well, honestly.
I appreciate the effort that they put into to like making a game like that work on a console.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you know, I'm still gonna want the, you know, the tens of however many keys are on my keyboard. I'm gonna want that many buttons,
Say,
all at once instead of
72. It's like the base keys, I think.
I have no idea.
And then you have like your 10 key on the side. I think I believe that's the number. Somebody in chat can correct me if I'm wrong. Just tell me I'm stupid. But they actually had that game completely fail. It was terrible. It was disastrous. And it wasn't because of the crossplay. It was just because the game was bad. And then they re-released it in 2013. It was August 24th, 2013. And you could crossplay between PS3, PS4, and PC. And you still can today. Because the servers that they were using weren't like Sony servers or anything like that. They were Square Enix's servers that they had set up for the MMO. So it's not like they're going to die out anytime soon and your PS3 will be obsolete. The game probably runs terribly on your PS3 nowadays, but if you really wanted to, you could boot up your PS3 and play Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn with your PS4 PC buddies.
I wonder if some guy still does that to this day. He's like not a hardcore gamer, but he just loves Final Fantasy XIV. He hops on his PS3 every day just to play Reborn.
just out there hooked up to his not flat screen TV. It's like a 20-inch screen, you know, and it's massive and weighs more than like a child. And
he's had a rough day at work. He comes home, grabs a beer, turns on his PS3 and plays Final Fantasy XIV in 2020.
He said, I paid $600 at launch for my PlayStation 3 and I'm gonna get my money's worth.
Exactly.
This many years later, yeah. And we look at that and, you know, we kind of laugh at it, but I mean, that is where all of this started, you know? Mm-hmm. That's where this came from. They paved the way for games like Fortnite, games like Rocket League that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. And I mean, that's actually where we're going next. Fortnite got cross-platform play in September of 2018. I think that was the last time they were like waiting for Sony to finally give the go-ahead and be like, fine, PlayStation players can play with the other people. Okay. Yeah. I believe that was in September of 2018. And I think they got the other cross-play on Xbox and PC earlier that year. Yeah. Did you play Fortnite cross-platform ever with people on other platforms?
Yeah, I have.
Same.
I think they did it very like smooth, seamlessly. The transition was smooth. It was if I didn't know that it was crossplay, I wouldn't know a difference if they added it. Like, it is very smooth. Obviously the players that are playing on console might be a little potatoed sometimes, but like other than that, like the performance of the game itself it's flawless, I think.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Fortnite, it runs nice.
Yeah. I mean, and again, Fortnite, not my kind of game. I mean, it was my kind of game before people learned to build because it was mostly just shooting people, and that's fine. But like at like really the birthing of crossplay for this generation, I feel like Fortnite was really the catalyst for pushing forward crossplay between Xbox and PlayStation. More so than like PC and PlayStation, because like I said, Final Fantasy XIV had done that in the past. That was something that had already existed in some form. But I think really the catalyst for like being able to play with anybody anywhere, Fortnite started that. And I think that Epic Games, for as much as they do that is questionable and not great and not consumer friendly, I think that they're really to thank for how big crossplay is in its current state. They took one of the biggest games ever and said, now you can play it with anybody and it doesn't matter. This isn't exclusive to only your console. So what if your friend bought a PlayStation? You can play with him.
That's a power move for sure. It is.
Yeah.
One of the biggest games of the last like few years, and it's just now you can do it everywhere.
Yeah.
With anyone, like
even on your phone.
It's a monopoly move right there.
It is. And I think that also is a part of the reason that Fortnite has continued to see the length of life and strength that it has in the industry is, I mean, obviously the incredible marketing team, all the stuff that they've done with Marshmello, Travis Scott, the Avengers, like the incredible battle passes that they've done, how good their servers are, all that stuff, releasing on mobile. But I think that the fact that like you can play with anybody, anywhere, at any time, however you want to play the game is an incredible boon to anybody who's just interested in gaming, and it's free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that has really attributed a lot of, like, I think that that's what we can attribute a lot of the game's success to, is the ability to just do that first. And they really came out the gates and were like, this is our vision and this is what we're doing. And Sony was finally like, fine, whatever, we'll do it, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of people give Sony a lot of hate for not wanting to go cross-platform during the PlayStation 4 era. Like when all of this was going on, I remember reading the news articles, everyone being like, Sony, why are you being so terrible about this? You know, like, why is it so awful? Like, why are you guys the worst company ever that won't support crossplay? But during the 360 generation in North America, when Microsoft was just making banger sales and the PlayStation 3 released at $600 on launch, and it was a terrible debacle and it was horrible. And like, Sony was the one going, let's do cross-platform play. Look, Final Fantasy 14, you know, like they already had the technology in place. They knew they could do it. And Microsoft was going, nah, we're good.
Yeah, dude.
We're getting our sales, you know, and we've kind of seen the pendulum swing back in Sony's favor, where they're like, exclusive Spider-Man on PlayStation 4 or on PlayStation 5 in Marvel's The Avengers, you know, or both consoles, whatever it releases on. You have to play on Sony consoles to play as Spider-Man in Marvel's The Avengers. Is what they're doing now. And everybody's like, boo, Sony the worst, you know? And now Microsoft's coming back and they're like, look at us, we're consumer friendly. We're not even sold out on our consoles. You'll be able to get an Xbox Series X at launch, you know? Like, and they're seeming like the good guy here. And it's interesting to see it swing back and forth, how like, it took so much pressure for Sony to finally be like, okay, fine, clearly this is something that's gonna make us seem too anti-consumer, we can't do it. And they finally caved in on crossplay.
Yeah. Hey,
so,
man.
So the next like really big game to do crossplay, in my opinion, the next like big game to do crossplay was Rocket League, and that came out in February 19th, 2019 was when they launched their like crossplay, and you could play PlayStation 4, Xbox One computer all together. Did you play Rocket League crossplay at all?
I have, yeah. I've played a little bit of that.
So you played on PC with people on console though?
Yeah.
I have not done Rocket League crossplay. I played Rocket League originally on the PlayStation 4. It was actually one of the games they gave away free for PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
and like I have not played it since I played it on PS4. I have never even tried Rocket League on PC.
That's one of those games where I would plug in my remote to play it.
Yeah,
it's not a mouse and keyboard game, but yeah, I have played it cross-platform. I feel like it runs nice. No notable complaints. I honestly haven't played that game too much, and I'm hot garbage at it, so I kind of stay away from it. But it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, and and that really like brings us into our next point that you mentioned. You plug in your controller to play this game, and like this is one of the few games that I look at that's multiplayer that I'm like, this probably controls better on controller for like 90% of people. Like, and that is a very arbitrary statistic. I am not a scientist. Please do not quote my numbers, but I genuinely think that Rocket League is a game that plays better on controller and easier on controller. It felt way more naturally to play on controller than to try to play on a keyboard. And like every person that I've talked to about Rocket League, they're like, yeah, this game's made for controller. Like it's just easier that way.
I feel that way about a lot of driving games. Like even when I'll plug in my controller to play Grand Theft Auto. Like just because I prefer driving with sticks, man. You can make those more like precise movements, I think.
I think third-person games in general, I mean, are looking a little better on controller than mouse and keyboard for the most part. I think aside from like competitive third-person shooters, you're looking at like your Gears of War or Rogue Company as the most recent one, PUBG when that was played more primarily in third person than first person. Like games like that, I could understand preferring to be on a mouse and keyboard. But games like The Witcher, Dark Souls, Rocket League, Forza Horizon, you know, like all of these are games that I look at and I'm like, these play better on a controller.
It's true.
I think you will have an easier time on controller than you would on PC. And I mean, moving on, we've got some games that are kind of relevant. Moving out of the history now, we've got a lot of games that just recently like have been coming out and being like, we are crossplay now. We're doing it. We're in on the fad. Come try our game because you can play with your friends anywhere. And like, it's kind of a marketing shtick now, you know? Like the technology is obviously there. They have all these things in place. People are totally cool with it. And now they're like, hey, come try us out, you know? And it's something that people are using a lot. The most recent one I can think of to add it in is Apex. And this is a game that we both play. And you've played with someone on console, correct?
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah. Our guest last week, Spicy Doom, plays on console, doesn't he? Or does he?
Yeah, he's on, I believe he plays on Xbox when he plays Apex.
Yeah.
We got a few games in actually like maybe 3 days ago.
Yeah. And I know a few people in the chat. I mean, they play on console. I've played with Codename Killer Zombie. He streams Apex as well, and he's a pretty solid player. And like you said, Spicy Doom, who was our guest last week, plays on console. And like I know a professional named Nicewig. Like I don't know him personally, but like I know of him, and he actually plays on console and plays for a team competitively and like competes with a controller. and like holds his own against keyboard and mouse players. And there's a lot of debate between console and PC players about which is the better thing to use and which is more accurate and all that stuff. But I would say, like, if you're competing at the highest level that you can and putting in the hours and putting in the practice, you can compete.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Like, because for me personally, like, I'm a decent Apex player. I am not nearly as good as Nicewig. I will not ever in my life be nearly as good as Nicewig. And like, again, professional controller player. The dude is legitimately insane. I'm not even sure if he uses aim assist on console. The dude is just legit good. Like, the last I checked, I think he shut it off just so he could be more accurate himself with his sticks. And I'm like, you're actually insane, and that's fine, you know. And I think that there's a really big like stigmatism in the PC community looking at the console community, being like, oh, you guys are just being carried by your crutches of aim assist. And do you agree with that statement? Do you agree with that sentiment that they're just being carried by their aim assist?
No, I think to an extent, maybe like, but you still have to put your stick in that general direction,
Yeah.
or you know, there some games I think it's worse than others, but I wouldn't say like generally that it carries them at all.
I would say that Call of Duty is potentially the worst culprit of this, of like the aim assist issue, as is right now. But that
Yeah,
was a game that I think is designed for consoles first, PC second. And some people might disagree with that, but I do believe that that's a game that is primarily for consoles.
I'm of the belief that they some of them need the edge. Not everybody's a pro Apex player,
Yeah.
like, and I do think it's true that on PC we are capable of having that we have more precise aim on PC.
Yeah.
Unless you're awful, I guess, but like me.
So,
But yeah, I think that it helps out sometimes. I'm not against it.
yeah. So, one thing specifically about Apex is there has been rumblings of Apex releasing on Switch soon. I think it just got rated in like some country. Like they just rated Apex on Switch finally. It might have been Korea. Like I saw a news about a while ago. I can't remember where it was from exactly, but Apex is coming to Switch.
Ooh.
And it's also going to be crossplay. Do you think that Switch specifically has even more of a disadvantage versus PlayStation 4, Xbox?
Yeah. I've played Fortnite on my Switch, and it just does not feel right. It's something feels weird, man. Like the stick sensitivity isn't on, or I don't know how to explain it, man. It just feels real goofy. I can't handle it.
Yeah, and I
Maybe
mean,
maybe you got to get your N64 controller, and that'll help or something. I don't know.
yeah, and I mean, one of our people in the chat, Mustache, mentioned look up Overwatch on Switch, and I think of that, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like I've played
Yeah,
Overwatch on console, and it doesn't hold a candle to PC Overwatch. It's just not the same. It's just a different game, you know?
it's like the meta's even different on console. They don't they update it a little differently?
Yeah, Torbjorn specifically, who, for those
Yeah,
of you who don't know, Torbjorn is a character from Overwatch. Overwatch being like 5v5 or 6v6, like really like team-based, class-based shooter. They have 3 roles: tank, healer, DPS. Like just a quick breakdown. Torbjorn is a character who sets up a turret that will automatically lock onto a target and shoot them. And on console, they had to specifically nerf Torbjorn because it was too strong. Because the ability to just automatically track to someone and hit them right away without having to worry about it was too strong on console. And I think Overwatch specifically is a game that I think they've balanced their aim assist well. It's not too overbearing because me, as someone who's a bad controller player, can't load up on McCree and land the same shots that I do on PC.
yeah.
And like this isn't a game that's cross-platform, and I think that specifically this one, there's a good reason it's not cross-platform. I think that the aim assist isn't strong enough for console players to be able to compete with PC players, first of all, and I think that the metas are too different because of like every character having their own individual skills, so many of them requiring such precise aim and all that stuff. Like I think that because of the way the game is made, it's not designed to be played PC versus console players. You could do it, but I genuinely don't think it would be fun for the console players because even if you're bad at aim, you got to be precise with your abilities. It's too
That
big a
would
part
be
of the game.
that would be a dumpster fire, I think, if they cross those over. And I, I that's one of those games I feel like everyone wants to be crossplay, but if it did happen, it would just be a mess, dude. Like
Yeah,
I'm good off that one.
yeah,
I'll
I
skip the
strongly
PC.
agree. But similarly, we have games like Dead by Daylight, which this is one that you're really familiar with that I have not played. So,
Yeah.
like, talk to me a little bit about crossplay on Dead by Daylight.
So they recently added crossplay to Dead by Daylight, I believe about 2-3 weeks ago. Um,
Hmm.
it's essentially the same game. They haven't really changed anything at all. The only difference I would say is a negative one, unfortunately, which is that the queue times are like 20 minutes long and it's god
Huh?
off. Like
Really?
that's the biggest change I've noticed. And
And
maybe it's because I'm queuing with people or something, but when I solo queue, I guess it goes a little faster. But when I play with like Sniper and he's on PS4, I'm on PC, I feel like our queue times 20 is a bit exaggerated, but like legit between like 10 minutes, like 5 to 10 minutes, which is a long time for me.
yeah, and I mean that's kind of crazy to me because I look at something like crossplay and I would figure that's something that would help the queues because we saw the opposite effect in Apex Legends. When I would queue up for duos instead of trios, I mean it would take, I mean like you're talking like 5-10 minutes to even find a game if it found one to play duos. When I load
Yeah.
up now, because there's the console crossplay, like typically I'll get into a duos match in usually a minute to a minute and a half if I have to wait. And that's only if I'm solo queuing into duos. If I have another person with me, you're looking at 30 seconds to a minute. So I'm wondering if it's just like the server capacity being overloaded and that's why they're struggling to find games for you is because they don't have enough open lobbies, or what's going on there. That's interesting that
Yeah,
was in effect.
yeah, it's weird to me too because I know people play that game. There's a huge audience for Dead by Daylight, especially now. Like you said, we got a bigger pool of people that can be queued in. Like I don't. That's my biggest gripe with it. Other than that, I think it's really cool that I can play with all my console buddies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had a blast.
Now our our next one that we're talking about is Modern Warfare, and this is something that is quite a hot topic among a lot of people. The new Call of Duty is supposed to be coming out. Warzone is going to be carrying over. Do you see any real advantage, disadvantage for either side being on console or PC for Modern Warfare?
I Modern Warfare is just one of those games I feel like where you can get really good on your sticks if you want.
Yeah,
You can also get really good on your mouse and keyboard if you want.
yeah,
But you mentioned earlier Call of Duty has a gnarly aim assist, doesn't it? Like
yeah.
absurd.
And I mean, I look at a game like Modern Warfare, and like I said, I mean, you mentioned that I mentioned it earlier, but I mean, these games are made for console. They feel better on a controller. You know, the aim assist is great, and this is a point that I was kind of waiting to bring up until the opinion piece, but I'm going to say it now because I think this is the right time. I think
Okay.
that the skill floor for console Call of Duty is a lot lower, and the skill ceiling is a lot lower.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Like you can get to a point where you're okay a lot faster on console than you can on PC. Or
Yeah.
sorry, I said that wrong. I apologize. The skill
I
floor on
see.
PC is lower, and then
Right.
the
Yeah.
skill floor on console is a little bit higher. So your starting point on console, because of the aim assist in Call of Duty, because of how strong it is, you start out at a better point. It's a lot easier to get to your skill ceiling in Call of Duty. It's a lot harder to reach your PC skill ceiling in Call of Duty
Yeah.
because you have to account for the recoil on every gun, which I know you have to a little bit on console, like pull down slightly on the thumbstick, but I think it's a little different on PC. And then you have to really work on your tracking to be on the same level as people who can aim in the general vicinity of someone and then ADS.
Right. Yeah.
So I think you're going to have a lot more return on investment on PC as far as just like training your aim and all that stuff when you look at Call of Duty. But I think that you're going to have a lot easier time being competitive in Call of Duty a lot faster if you just learn controller.
Have you played on console Modern Warfare?
I have not played on a console. I have played with a controller on my PC.
Okay, and it still has those like aim assist settings and stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, to the point where you have to actually like leave your lobby, unplug your controller, swap your input setting and all that stuff to keep people from like cheesing it like and all that stuff. Like cuz otherwise it could be like the type of thing where you plug in your controller and then you swap over to keyboard and mouse so you have your aim assist while you're on your keyboard and mouse. You know
Yeah.
there'd be people trying to do shenanigans like that, figure out bugs, all that stuff. Like and it's ridiculous, man. Like the lengths that you have to go through, but I think it's necessary as well. Because obviously if you could play on PC with the aim assist of a console, it would be legitimately broken. It's too easy to aim the general direction. It just is.
Mustache kind of brought up my follow-up question in chat. He said his brother plays with on PC with a controller. He says it feels a little different. I was gonna ask, do you feel a difference, you think? If you were to play on console and then PC, like I know you're playing with the remote, you have the settings there, but do you think there's like something somewhere that just makes that experience just a little different somehow?
It's incredibly different. You have a
Yeah.
field of view slider on PC. You can play at a higher frame rate. You can play at a different resolution. You can you can tailor your PC settings to whatever it is that you want to experience while you're playing on PC that you can't do on console. And finally, I think with the new Call of Duty, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there is a console field of view slider. so that you're
Oh,
not quite as zoomed into your gun in the new Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War that's coming out. And
that's huge.
yeah, I think it's massive. And I think as we see consoles become more small PCs, like we're seeing, where it is basically just a small, like low to mid range computer, we're going to see more PC options like that popping up. And they're going to have options where it's like you can optimize your gameplay and its smoothness, or you can optimize your graphics, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is kind of like bridging that gap between console and PC, where the issue is really just, you know, are you better at aiming, not is this person playing at 144 FPS.
Right.
And I think personally
Not,
that's a bigger advantage than the aim.
yeah, I was gonna say that's another advantage that some when playing crossplay you might have if you're on a PC. You might just run way smoother aside from your aim. If you're fighting some guy who's getting 30 FPS over here or less, and he's just like struggling to even see what's going on, you don't even need to hit him every shot to beat the guy.
Yeah, I mean, you got your boy out here on his OG PS4 that he bought in
Yeah.
2014 or whatever, like, and he's struggling to run the game at 30 FPS. Like that's, I mean, that's, you can't hold a candle to your boy running at 144 FPS. In some cases, 244 FPS for the people who have balled out and spent $600 on a 244 hertz monitor. If that's their thing, you know, you get your money's worth. And I think that that is a really understated advantage of PC, is being able to see a wider field of view, so you can see more of, you know, what's going on around you and in front of you, which does impact your frame rate a little bit, but at the same time, being able to see at that wider angle. I mean, you see people to the left and right that you wouldn't see on console because your field of view is so narrow.
Right.
You know? And I mean, Modern Warfare specifically, because it has Warzone, like this is important in battle royale games. Like it is necessary to have those things. And I think that that's a really big advantage for PC players that console players haven't gotten to see for so long, and they're finally going to get to see with this new generation of consoles. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that's cool. Field of view, that's a huge setting, man.
Yeah.
Let us see more.
So the next game that we're bringing up here is Dauntless, and we're bringing up this one because Monster Hunter World does not support crossplay for some reason. Capcom, get it together. Monster Hunter World is amazing. You should be able to play it with whoever you want.
Shame.
Big shame on you for Capcom. Have you played Dauntless?
I have a little bit. While back.
Yeah, I actually bought a Founders Pack for Dauntless, and like...
Really?
Yeah, like bought one of the bigger tiers so I could give my friends keys too, and like I actually played a lot of Dauntless when it was like in pretty early like alpha and beta, like, and hardly at all after release, because I just like it, I realized it's not my type of game. It's something that I played and got a lot of enjoyment out of, but it's not for me. Like I don't like that like really grindy for the same monsters, looking for specific things to upgrade your same piece of gear. I like getting actual loot drops, not materials to craft other loot. That's my issue with Dauntless, but they were also one of the big like crossplay pushers. So when you played Dauntless, did it have crossplay? Do you know?
I honestly don't remember. I don't think it did. I never played with anybody like that I knew. I always played online.
Yeah. But I think that this one specifically, like I think they were like, we have to add crossplay because Monster Hunter World doesn't have crossplay.
It's an edge for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think that this is nearly as polished of a game. Obviously, the graphics aren't as nice. It has its own really like cel-shaded cartoon style that's very unique to it, but it doesn't look as good as Monster Hunter World, and it doesn't play as fluid as Monster Hunter World. But they look at this and they're like, our game is free to play, anybody can get it, and you can play it with your buddies. And that is a big selling point for a game like this.
Yeah, that's enough for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Also, I looked into it. It did not have crossplay until launch.
And do you have the launch date, the release date for it, off the top of your head? I say.
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, you can look that one up. But like Dauntless was, when it came out, people were like, this is the Monster Hunter that we've wanted on PC. And when it was in alpha and beta and being like, you know, selling founders packs and all that, like we didn't have the announcement of Monster Hunter World yet. And then Monster Hunter World got announced and everybody was like, well, now what? You know, because Monster Hunter World was the Monster Hunter everyone wanted on PC from Capcom, with all of the recognizable characters and your little like cat minion that follows you around, like, and like will carry things for you and help you fight and all that stuff. So now what?
Bring it cross-platform.
Exactly. That's where they take it.
They're going back to Switch, man. With Monster Hunter, did you see that?
Oh, Monster Hunter Rise? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm a little disappointed in that. A little off topic, but God, man, I wanted them to either do another PC release or keep working on a World or something. We'll probably never see that cross-platform now.
I can't see a world in which Monster Hunter World 2 doesn't come out. It was too successful. It made them so much money. you
I
know?
mean, it's like Pokemon in that, like, if you could just keep coming up with ideas for new monsters, like, you can just keep making games. So
Yeah.
their franchise will keep going, and as long as people keep buying it.
Yeah. So we kind of mentioned Fortnite. We touched on it a little bit, but I mean, this was the biggest cross-platform game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was massive. You know, compared to any of the other games on our list, Fortnite is the biggest cross-platform game. Arguments could be made for Rocket League or Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but this was the first one and it was huge, and it paved the way for all of the other current generation multi-platform games to come. Now, personally, I don't like Fortnite. I don't enjoy Fortnite, you know, and I don't have any friends that I play with on a regular basis that still play Fortnite. But assuming that I had a friend that had only a PlayStation 4 and that was the only game that they had for some reason, they were unfortunate enough to be forced to only play Fortnite and they loved it, you know, and they were like, hey, play with me. I could load up and play with them right now. And it'd be easy and it'd be seamless. The servers would work well. I think there's a lot to be said for a game like this that is so consistent and so functioning, like that it's just it's steady, you know? Like I would say Fortnite is like the Toyota Corolla of video games.
No, yeah, I think Fortnite set a precedent with their crossplay. Like they dropped that, and everyone was like, this is what this should look like. This is how this should run. And I think ever since then we've seen kind of like a spike of different devs making their games crossplay.
Yeah. And I think it's because of that Fortnite influence. I mean,
Yeah,
looking at a company like Hi-Res specifically, I mean, they've made Smite, they've made Paladins, they've made Realm Royale, they've made Rogue Company, and all of these games are cross-platform. I mean, we're going to focus on Smite specifically here, but I mean, they looked at that and they were like, this worked great for them. We got to do it. You know, I mean, because
yeah.
that's what Hi-Res does best. They copy other people's ideas and rehash them in their own way. You know, like
Well, it's with crossplay, it's like it almost feels like a no-brainer. Like
yeah,
the more consoles you make your game available on, and the more consoles that console is able to interact with, I feel like that in its own is like a marketing point. Like, hey, you can play with anybody.
yeah, and
I
it's
don't see why you wouldn't do it.
and obviously a little bit like armchair game dev here, you know, like I am not a game developer. I do not know about server infrastructure. I'm not an expert by any means, but I look at the gaming landscape as it stands currently with so many people playing right now more than ever because of COVID, and I say I want my game to be as many places as possible, played by as many people as possible with as few restrictions as
Yeah.
possible. And the inability to play with your friends on Xbox if you have a PlayStation, or your friends on PC if you have a Switch, like all of that, that is a restriction. And people
Mhm.
don't like being told they can't do something. So why
Especially,
wouldn't you make it cross-plat?
yeah, and we know that it's a very possible thing now too. So like, I don't I think we're gonna start seeing a lot more games
Yeah.
turn into a crossplay game. Yeah,
Companies like Sony, like Rockstar, like Epic Games, the technology is there. There are no more excuses. There's
that's right.
not. Like, you have the ability to do it. So many of these huge gaming companies have the funding to do it. Just do it. So, Smite specifically, I mean, this was a big one for me because I actually got my start streaming playing Smite on console Xbox.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had an Xbox One. I was playing Smite, and I was streaming Smite, and I was like semi-competitively playing Smite. Did a lot of ranked, climbed up to Masters on Smite on Xbox, like back in the day.
Oh.
And like, yeah, it was great. Used a lot of circle abilities, so I didn't have to actually aim. It was very fun. Yeah, I played with my boy Grinth Live and the Mad Hatter, and like we had a great time. Taylor TJ, if he's in here, like he played ADC, and like this was my MOBA, and finally, I got to a point where I could play it cross platform with all of my friends who used to play with me when I moved on to PC. Because
Mhm.
there were so many people that were like, oh, I wish we could play with you still when I was playing Smite on PC when I had made the move over, but they were still on Xbox. And finally, the crossplay came out, and one of my buddies that I used to play with all the time, his name was Dolphin, and he was hilarious. He was like, bro, did you hear crossplay between Smite on Xbox and PC? I was like, dude, I did hear. We're gonna have to get some games in, and we got some games in, you know,
Yeah,
and it was amazing. Like, it's great to be able to do it. I think as far as like technological advancements in gaming, short of virtual reality, I think crossplay is the most exciting advancement in gaming, like to happen in the last 10 years.
yeah, dude. I look forward to a day where I meet somebody, and I asked them, "Hey man, like you play games?" Oh, and instead of being like, "Oh, what console are you on?" and being disappointed when it's not the same one, I can just be like, "Oh, do you have this game?" You know what I mean? Like
Yep,
that's what I look forward to.
absolutely. And Microsoft has been one of the biggest pioneers for crossplay. Play anywhere, play what you want, play how you want, do all of these things. And they've got a few games that are crossplay that we're going to highlight here. And like State of Decay 2 is a big one. I mean, zombie survival game that you can play cross-platform. Forza Horizon racing, like open world racing game that you can play just with your buddies, drop in, drop out, real easy, real fluid. Connects to Xbox Live. Sea of Thieves, which you and me have played. We've spent quite a bit of time on. Both enjoy.
I
Uh,
kept it.
yeah, exactly. The Master Chief Collection, do we have word on if that's cross-platform or not? Let's say.
It's so when I looked into it earlier, it said to be announced. It says
Okay.
there's plans of it at launch or whatnot, but
They haven't
no,
done it
no,
yet.
yeah, no real solid news right now.
Okay, because they are still working on releasing the full Master Chief Collection on PC. I think Halo 4 is the final one to be released, and that's supposed to be coming probably in the next 6 months. It wouldn't surprise me if they like announced that along with the release date for Halo Infinite. And we're expecting Halo Infinite to also be the same kind of crossplay.
Mhm.
And then obviously Minecraft. I mean, how could you not mention Minecraft? You know?
You mean Super Smash Bros, dude?
Yeah, Super Smash Bros. Minecraft. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, Minecraft specifically, I mean, this game is perfect for crossplay. A mobile, PC, console, whatever it is that you're on, this game is made for that. You know?
Yeah.
Like there is a peaceful creator mode. There's like fun ways to play this game and just chill out and have a good time with your friends. And I think Minecraft is a perfect example of crossplay.
Yeah. I mean, you just have a whole world to yourself,
Yeah.
and when you can include every console in that world, holy smokes. I think when I was younger, and before I got my PC and I was on my PlayStation, that was always one of those games I'd always wanted to see get crossplay.
Was Minecraft. Like be able to
Yeah,
play that with your
absolutely.
friends anywhere that you
Yeah,
wanted to for a good time. Yeah.
yeah.
Strongly agree. So, do you play digital card games?
Yes.
You do.
Only one though.
Same. I only play one. I've tried a few. I only play one. I play
What is
Hearthstone.
yes.
And I
Right.
know a couple of people in the chat play Hearthstone. I know a couple of people have tried Hearthstone. And I think that this is the best and the worst of card games, like all lumped into one. My buddy pinged me on Discord, the Mad Hatter. He pinged me on Discord the other day and he goes, so a Hearthstone streamer, if you have the name, just link it in chat for me because I don't remember the name off the top of my head, did the math, and to get one competitive pack for ranked mode in Hearthstone to be able to climb ladder would cost you approximately $230 every time a new expansion releases to get one complete, cohesive, constructed deck.
Oh, dude. See, that's why I quit
Yeah.
because and they release expansions so frequently. It's like
Uh,
what is it, every other month or something? Like
every quarter, I believe they do a Hearthstone expansion. Maybe not like a major one, but yeah, in some aspect.
no thanks.
Yeah. But this was again one of the pioneers of PC and mobile crossplay specifically. Hearthstone is not on Switch, it's not on PlayStation 4 or Xbox, but it is on mobile and tablets and all that stuff, and you can crossplay on that. And I remember when they announced Hearthstone for mobile, I was so excited, and then it only came out for iPhones first, and I was so mad because I'm an Android user. I don't have iPhones. I don't own any Apple products. I have never owned an Apple product. I almost bought an iPad so that I could play Hearthstone in my bed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was hype. I remember because when it came out on mobile, I had like a Windows phone or something like, and I was so bummed about it. And I remember I would go to like my I still didn't even have my computer really, so I would go to my grandma's house just to play Hearthstone on her iPad.
Incredible. Yeah.
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 Also, what was I gonna say? I keep moving on. I lost my thought.
No worries. All right. So this next one that we're talking about for cross-platform play is a bit of a doozy here because this is a game that was originally intended for mobile games that they're like, we can put this on PC and consoles because it's a banger and people will play it and they will still spend mobile game money. It's brilliant. It's Genshin Impact. Have you played Genshin Impact?
I did, yeah. I played Genshin Impact for all of like 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought those 2 days were really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm kind of like I feel like I've seen what I need to see.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much end game content aside from running some dungeons with your friends maybe, but even like the dungeons are kind of poorly made, honestly. Like I'll say it, dude. Game is very it's pretty, but it's really cut and dry. You can tell it's like made to be a mobile game.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and it has the gotcha mechanics in place to try to entice people to spend that money and to try to like, buy and roll the perfect like heroes, characters, whatever it is that they call them, waifus, whatever it is that you want to
Yeah,
say,
why?
like, uh, yeah, waifus, yeah. And like, this is a game that again was made for mobile. It has a lot of mobile systems in place. You have a stamina system, so eventually you run out of stamina, you can no longer loot chests or like get loot from dungeon bosses or something specific like that. It's like some weird interaction with the stamina. I didn't look into it personally. As soon as I heard about it, I was like, I'm good. This is not a game that I want to get hooked on. This is not a game I
Yeah.
want to get closer with. I do not want to get attached and then have to pay more for stamina and pay for better heroes and a lot of the people that I've talked to that are free to play players say that it's pretty fair, but also that they don't play like for 8 hours at a time.
I see. I feel that the few days that I did play, I felt like they actually did offer you a really generous amount of like materials and whatever it's called, the
Mm-hmm.
thing you need to summon characters. Like I got a few of those. I got a few summons, and I spent no money.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I too, I would only play maybe like an hour or two at most. It wasn't ever like extended playtime.
Yeah. And looking at something like Genshin Impact, I mean, that game is designed to pretty much give you a quick like boost of adrenaline and upgrading your characters, getting new items, like the rush of like all the upgrades that you can get and like all the like introduction to gacha mechanics where it's all there like showering you with goodies basically to try to
Yeah.
get you hooked on the progression. So that way when the slowdown happens at around level 25 is when most of my friends have mentioned they've kind of hit a wall, if you will. You're already hooked by that point and you want to keep playing it and you'll pay the money because you want to keep
Smart.
playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
we see through it. This is why you watch the podcast. We'll expose the lies.
and I hate to see it, dude. I hate to see it. It's such a cool game. If they took
Yeah,
out the gotcha mechanics, I'd love it.
I know. I think you were the first person I like talked to about Genshin Impact. I was like, man, this keep seeing this game. Have you played it? And you told me you were like, oh, it's really cool, but it has gotcha mechanics. And I was
Yep.
like, oh, okay. Well, I'll try it, but and at the end of the day, that's kind of what kept me from really getting into it. I think is
Yeah.
the gotcha mechanics, dude. It's like just a foggy, rainy cloud that hangs over you while you play, dude. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. And I mean, that brings us to our next game, which is Elder Scrolls Online, which Genshin Impact is like an almost MMO. I wouldn't even consider it an MMO. It has quests. It's closer to an adventure game that you can play some of with your friends. Like you can bring them along to experience certain parts of it. I don't consider Genshin Impact a true MMO like I do Elder Scrolls Online. And I think Elder Scrolls Online is, I would say, the definitive console MMO. I think the combat isn't very good, isn't very exciting, isn't very fluid, but it is simple and it
Yeah.
is straightforward and it is playable on console. And I think that this is one of the bigger ones where you wouldn't see as much of a detriment playing on console as you would on PC.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have played quite a bit of Elder Scrolls Online. I never got to max level, but I played a lot of dungeons. I tried some PvP. I did a lot of the quests, that sort of thing. Like I experienced a lot of what the game had to offer. I did some home building and all that stuff. And there was nothing that I came across that I looked at and I was like, I would not be able to do this on my PlayStation 4. And I think that's a really big advantage for Elder Scrolls Online.
I never got into Elder Scrolls Online myself. I downloaded it maybe a few months ago. Really tried hard to get into it because I'm always looking for an MMO to fill my heart, but
Yeah.
I don't know. As a WoW guy, it's really hard for me to see any other MMO the same way.
There
I don't
really
know.
is nothing that fills your holes quite the same way. There really
Yeah,
isn't. Yeah. That's a
WoW
good
just
point.
fills all my holes, dude.
It
I
does.
don't know
Takes
what
up
it is.
all of your time. There's nothing else that you can do but World of Warcraft. And
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
this is kind of a sidebar here since we're talking about an MMO at the same time. In the last update, Blizzard put in their controller support
Oh,
in World of Warcraft. So you can play with an Xbox controller, assuming that you have the ability to go in and like do a little bit of like console command shenanigans and all that stuff to get it to work. But they did put in support for controllers on World of Warcraft inside
that's
of the game.
huge.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that they're doing that just to convenience the PC players, or do you think they're making a push to console?
I think I would love nothing more than to play any MMO game on my Switch. But There's not a world in which Blizzard puts World of Warcraft out on consoles. I think if they were going to do it, they would have done it by now.
Can you imagine?
I think it
I
would be easier on Switch than anything else, personally.
I would still prefer PC, of course,
Yeah.
but that would be super cool, like in a very different way.
PC aside, I think it'd be easier on Switch than on PlayStation 4 or on Xbox because of the touchscreen. Being able to just touch your ability.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be incredible.
Yeah, I think it'd be brilliant. Being able to run around and just farm herbs on my Switch, mine things, do trade skills, work the auction house, all that stuff on my Switch.
I will tap this.
Blizzard, please, if you're not already, give me World of Warcraft on Switch. I'm not going to try to raid, I promise. I promise. I won't do it. I'm already terrible. And then moving kind of out of the MMO section, Hunt Showdown. Have you played this?
Yeah, I have a little bit.
I have not. So talk to me a little bit about this one.
Hunt Showdown is, I want to say it's like a pseudo battle royale, team deathmatch type game. Like you go into this world. Your main objective is to kill 2 monsters. You banish them. You get their bounties or whatever, and then all at the same time, you have other teams coming after you on the same map that are players. And if you get back, then you get your money, you keep your character. If you unfortunately pass away, you lose that character and any other items they were carrying, essentially getting nothing out of that whole playthrough. It's a cool game. I've never played a cross-platform. I actually own that one on my PS4. Yeah, and it's a weird one for me. Like I said, I can't. Shooters on remote especially are really hard for me.
Yeah, it's impossible for me to go back now. Every time I try to play anything on console, I'm like, this feels so unnatural. Like, I feel like I don't have thumbs.
I can never find the right sensitivity, dude. I'm like, this is too slow, and then I turn it up. This is too fast. I just can't find that nice zone on console. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And I would say that that's one thing I would really like to see moving forward is more sensitivity options on console. I think that your vertical and horizontal sensitivity should stay the same, but I think being able to like do more like precise console sensitivity like changes would be an important change. And in a game
with the remotes, man, it's the sensitivity. I can't do it.
Yeah, and in a game like Hunt Showdown specifically, that is crossplay only between consoles. You can't play console versus PC. And this is one game where I think it makes a lot of sense because from what I've seen of the gameplay, again, I haven't played it for myself, but from what I've seen of like Perio's streams, I do not know his full name and I'm so sorry, or I would shout him out.
Perio Pro some deuce.
Yeah, okay. So Perio, and like what I've seen of his streams of the game, this is an incredibly hardcore shooter. Like it takes a long time to heal. You have to be precise with your shots. Like the fights are intense and like methodical, and you have to have like that extra layer of patience and like tactical thinking and all that. And I think that people on PC would have a little bit too clear of an advantage over people on console in this game specifically, no matter how much aim assist you put in.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. This game is, it's better that way. Because in a game that's that methodical, hardcore, you have the potential every game to lose everything.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to blame that on some PC guy that just has, an advantage just from a pure like hardware standpoint.
Here's Jimmy, who just purchased Hunt Showdown on his PlayStation 4. His OG PlayStation 4, the game barely runs at 24 FPS. He's loading into his first match of Hunt Showdown solo because he doesn't have any friends to play with yet. And here comes Shroud and his 2 other friends that he's playing Hunt Showdown with.
I can actually speak on that too because I own the OG PS4 and I played Hunt, and it's a little hard to run on the OG one.
Yeah,
and maybe that's just my PC brain talking because I'm used to like higher FPS and stuff, but like that it felt rough for me. I don't know. That's why I haven't really played it too much.
Yeah,
I'd play it on PC though.
Absolutely. Yeah. Assuming it didn't have hackers. That was like, I was reading through the reviews as I was thinking of buying it, and it was like, oh, hackers in so many lobbies, do not play the game after it goes on sale for the first like 2 weeks. So basically buy it on sale and then wait 2 weeks to play it because it's going to be a bad time.
Well, story, get some anti-cheat, Hunt, and we will buy your game on PC.
You would think. But So, like, moving on to kind of the opinion piece. I mean, we've been kind of like throwing out opinions here and there. I mean,
Yeah,
looking at it, like, there are clear advantages to playing on PC and playing on console. And I think it's awesome that people are able to play cross platform like never before. And I think one of the biggest things that is an issue with cross platform play personally is the cheating issue. Because now your cheaters in PC lobbies will be in your console lobbies if they don't have an option to toggle off PC play, you know?
yeah,
And like that's a real detriment to console players. As cool as it
absolutely.
is to be able to play with your friends, that's something that they haven't had to deal with like PC players have, and now they do. And it sucks, but realistically, there hasn't been a single anti cheat on PC that's been enough to keep the hackers out, like for
Yeah,
good. I can't think of any game with no hackers. Like
it
the
happens.
Yeah, the closest I have is like Overwatch, and even that, like they've had periods of time where there were people that had hacks getting through their anti cheat. So
Yeah, I feel like that's how it goes typically. Is like it comes in spurts because one guy will figure out like one exploit in the system, and then that just kind of spreads like wildfire or whatever. But I think the more we see console play getting more prevalent, we'll see more of a decline in the hacking as well. I think those things will grow together. I would hope so at least.
yeah.
Um,
And when you think of crossplay games that like you admire, like is there any crossplay game that you hold up on a pedestal that you're like, this is the pinnacle of crossplay games? This is one that you personally like feel good about, that you love, that you appreciate, that you think did it right, did it the best? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Not immediately. I do hold a very high respect for Fortnite and its
Yeah.
crossplay. Aside, like I do not play Fortnite. I don't particularly like the game very much, but
Hmm.
that aspect of the game I think is it was I really think it like pioneered a lot of the crossplay we see today.
Yeah. I agree. I think that that is definitely a game that started it all. I mean, as far as games I want to play right now that I would say are doing crossplay very well, I think Apex is doing a really good job with crossplay.
I Yeah, that it's doing an amazing job.
I think it's a game that lends itself to crossplay very well as well. I don't think that the aim assist is too much. I don't think it's too strong. I think that it's pretty well balanced. The people that play on PC with a controller seem to do just fine against the people who play on mouse and keyboard on controller. Specifically in a game like Apex, because I think that Apex is a game that's like, as far as being good at the game, you're looking at like 30% game sense, 30% like aim, just being able to click on people's heads, and then 40% movement.
Yeah,
And that
movement's
part of Apex where it's about how well you traverse the environment that you can get good at on console or on PC, I think that is like the biggest kicker as of why this is one of the most accessible crossplay games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That I would like to try that game in the perspective of a console player, just to kind of see what it feels like on their end, you know?
I say, do you have a controller?
I do, yeah.
Plug
I
that bad
can
boy in.
Yeah, I might do that, dude. See how it runs. Did they give you all the same settings and stuff? Have you tried?
I have not tried Apex on
Okay.
controller. No, I have not. I've seen a few friends do it, and they seem like they have just as good of a time. Like specifically PC players who go to controller, like who already understand the movement and what you need to do. Like the people who play at a high level on PC with keyboard and mouse don't have any trouble like transitioning to controller. It takes them a second to get the aim down, but they already know the movement. They already know like where to jump, where you can jump, how your abilities should work in conjunction with how you're playing. They have the game sense, and they just pick it up.
That might work out for me, man, because I'm about as rock bottom as it gets in skill level for Apex. So maybe if I plug my controller in, it'll do me some help.
Time to start again, try something new.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
So overall, do you do you enjoy crossplay? Like,
I do.
okay,
I think
why?
it's incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
like, I think that crossplay has been a necessary next step as far as the evolution of gaming, and I think that it took even too long to get to where it is now. Like,
yeah,
I think that it's something that just should have happened. There's so many games that lend themselves so well to crossplay that should have had it already and have not had it, and it hurts my soul. I love crossplay. Like,
I
let me
agree.
play with who I want.
I'm I'm very I'm a very social gamer. I play a lot more for the experience of playing with my friends or even just random people online than I do for being the best at whatever I play. So crossplay to me is everything I could ask for. That's exposing me to more of these random people that I want to have experiences with or more of my friends that are on different consoles. It just it pieces everything together for me. I like it a lot.
Exactly. And I think that gaming is at a point now more than ever where we need to focus on tearing down barriers as opposed to putting up new ones. And I think that Sony has been kind of guilty of pushing this in the wrong direction with their exclusivity deals and all that stuff. And like, I look at this and I'm just like, please, Sony, attack what you will about our wallets. Please don't touch crossplay. Please. Like,
they got to pick their battles, man. Just keep your Spider-Man in Marvel, but give us crossplay.
Is there any game that you've played crossplay that you didn't like it in, that you didn't enjoy the crossplay, that you thought that it didn't work well, that it was too messy, it was too scuffed, like whatever it was that was happening was not good?
That's a good question. I can't immediately think of anything. Yeah. I don't want to leave a bunch of dead air. Do you have anything on your mind? I'll think about it.
I mean, looking at games that I disliked crossplay in, I mean, I'm going to go back up the list here. Realistically, like, I would say Sea of Thieves is a big one because I love open mic on Sea of Thieves, and there are just, like, some spurgy people on console that play Sea of Thieves that will, like, go in there with, like, the, like, open mic, like, and all that stuff, and, like, come up to your ship and just, like, scream racial slurs and stuff like that because, like, the standard Xbox Live, like, stigmatism of, like, oh, they're just all, like, racist children. And, like... And I think that things like that, like, are a little bit less common on PC in certain areas, but at the same time, like, I'm not at all being like, oh, nobody on PC does this, because they do. There are terrible people everywhere in the world. That's how it works. But like, Sea of Thieves specifically is a game where I love like proximity chat, and you just can't use it as well if there are people coming in and doing that, you know? So like, that's one where I've had a bad experience specifically. And then again, like, I would say the aim assist in Modern Warfare can be a little bit strong. But outside of that, I think that even that one works really well. And I can't really think of an environment where I'm like disappointed or sad that it has crossplay. Because even Sea of Thieves, I'm nitpicking.
I don't feel incredibly poorly about any of these crossplay games we've discussed. I think all of them do more good than bad, for sure.
Yeah. Even something like the MMOs, like Elder Scrolls, like Final Fantasy 14, where maybe it's a lot harder to play on console. Like, I think it's awesome that you have the option of crossplay because not everyone can afford a PC.
It's different. It gives other people that opportunity. That's exact. Couldn't have said it better, Vince.
So I know we've like mentioned a few. Are there any games that we haven't mentioned yet that are crossplay that you're playing right now? That you're like in the midst of, like you are playing this video game? We mentioned Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, aside from Apex and Dead by Daylight, those are my two go-tos as far as crossplay goes right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have my fingers crossed that I will not be downloading Call of Duty Modern Warfare ever again. But
I uninstalled mine last night.
Yes,
I did it. I feel a burden off my shoulders.
Seriously, it's so liberating just like clicking the uninstall button on Call of Duty. It really is. But
it's very. My computer is good off for it, man. I'm 200 and almost nearly 300 gigabytes free. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Especially when you consider that it won't fit on a 250 gig SSD.
Oh, that's my SSD. I couldn't fit it on mine.
Yeah. Chew on that, Call of Duty. You hate to see it. But are there any games that you can think of off the top of your head that should have crossplay that don't?
I really like... what's that one I've been playing?
I don't know. Joker.
Would you consider Among Us a crossplay game?
I would. It has crossplay between like PC and mobile, but I think Among Us should definitely be released on like Switch, PS4, Xbox One. I mean, I don't know if we have any updates on whether or not that's coming or not, but it should be. It looks so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a really big one. It's not one that I necessarily play all the time, but I think that if Rockstar did Grand Theft Auto 5 crossplay online, it could potentially be the biggest crossplay ever done, dude. That would be insane.
Rockstar, lovers of money, creators of only one game in the last like 30 years, Grand Theft Auto 5. Please, crossplay in Grand Theft Auto Online. How has this not happened already?
Yeah, dude. It feels like a no-brainer, doesn't it? This might have been the game I was thinking of earlier when I was like trying to think of a game that I really wanted in crossplay. I think it was that one, dude. I'm feeling the passion well up within.
Specifically, the ability for console players to be able to go in and experience some of the incredible RP servers that exist on GTA Online currently on PC.
Dude, that's my guilty pleasure on Twitch, dude. I only the only big streamers I watch are GTA RP streamers.
Exactly, because it's incredible. It's a fantastic
So fun.
experience,
Yeah,
and
I
it could
love
make
it.
them so much money. I mean,
Definitely.
could you imagine console players having another reason to load up Grand Theft Auto 5 as it releases again on PlayStation 5? I mean, it's a no-brainer. It should have happened by now, and it hasn't happened by now. Can you think of any reason why they wouldn't want crossplay in Grand Theft Auto Online?
Hackers, the hacking's so bad on PC online.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that's an
played it
excellent reason.
recently. It's still pretty rampant.
Yeah.
I can literally type in the chat like money drop and somebody will teleport me to them and give me money. Like it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, hacking, probably the biggest issue about crossplay, I think, across the board. Like, just generally speaking, I don't think that there's any issue with crossplay that's bigger than hacking because of PC. But even like PlayStation and Xbox gamers being able to crossplay, can you think of any reason why that wouldn't be okay since we can do it in so many other games?
On GTA specifically?
Yep.
Do you have the answer? I don't have this answer.
There isn't an answer. It should have happened. That's the answer.
There we go.
That's the answer. Rockstar, get it together, okay? Get out of the mentality where we only make money, we never spend money. That's why we're releasing GTA 5 for the third time on the third console generation, okay?
Are they doing that?
They are, yeah. It's releasing again for PlayStation 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 is. Yeah.
Make a 6 or make like Bully 2 or something. That would be sick.
Yeah.
Anything else, please.
Literally anything else.
I'm good, Rockstar. I've had my time with GTA Online.
And they're like, but we gave you Red Dead 2?
And I'm like, I'll play Red Dead 2, and then you can make GTA 6 while I play it. That's
Yeah. Trulia, my sister in the chat, shout out. She mentioned Black Desert Online. Have you played Black Desert?
I have not.
Black Desert is a game that's now available on consoles, is also available on mobile. And this one is also a really big question mark for me as why it hasn't happened yet. I think MMO games, MMO-like games, are the biggest, strongest candidate for crossplay. I think games that are designed to be played with multiple other people, massive amounts of other people, should be crossplay. I understand that there's some limitations on PC versus console and stuff like that, but you could say the same thing about not being able to hold a stable frame rate in Call of Duty, not being able to have as fluid of animations in Hunt Showdown, games like that, you know? Like, Elder Scrolls Online crossplay would be amazing. That's what we're talking about, you know?
MMOs as crossplay, it makes it feel like more of a world instead of just like this closed off little section. Like, it is actually a massive multiplayer now. I feel like it's almost needs to be an essential thing in the future.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at games like this that are designed to be played with as many people as possible and keep you coming back for more, and yet you can't play with your friends that have a console if you have a PC. And you hate to see it, you know? Like, as someone who's not a fan of Black Desert, like, I enjoy the action combat enough that if, like, someone was on console that, like, did not have any other way to play with me and, like, was like, I really want to play this game with you, and it was, like, one of my good friends, I'd be like, okay, you know, let's give it a try for a little bit. It's not something I can manage to stomach to play for more than, like, 2 hours at a time. But, like, it'd be cool to be able to do it, you know? Assuming that I was in the scenario.
Yeah, that's a simple one, too, right? There's not too many abilities in Black Desert. Isn't it, like, 1, 2, 3, 4 or something?
So the way that they do abilities in Black Desert, to my knowledge, and again, I haven't reached endgame or done anything crazy in the game or anything like that, but it's combo based. So like left click and right click, and then like holding your left click longer. It's like so 3 left clicks, 1 right click does 1 ability. And obviously you can bind it to F or like 1, 2, 3, 4, Q, that sort of thing if you want traditional keybinds. But similarly, if you just push like S to move backwards and then push click at the same time, then it does a different ability. Or when you push S and hold click at the same time, or when you click 3 times, right click and push forward, then it does a different ability. So it's definitely things that could transfer over to console perfectly fine, and I don't think you're at any serious disadvantage on console versus PC, playing Black Desert Online specifically. Similarly with Elder Scrolls Online.
It sounds like it has few enough buttons to where it wouldn't be like a really clunky user interface like something like Final Fantasy, where you would have to scroll through and stuff. I would prefer if there was a nice way to make all those buttons there at the same time instead of having to like scroll through something in order to get to an ability. I feel like that kind of like impedes gameplay just a bit. It's kind of a nitpick, I guess, but I don't like it. I'd rather just be on my computer. As a guy who has the console and the computer, they're those are the little things that make me go, oh, I'll just buy that on PC instead.
Yeah, absolutely. But like Black Desert, Elder Scrolls, MMO type games, they belong in crossplay. They deserve to be included at this
No,
point.
I agree.
I can't
That's what
see
if they find that like that golden way to just make all of your buttons accessible, maybe some kind of like controller attachment, kind of gimmicky, but like just anything where I could have all my buttons at once would be super cool.
I see your dog coming up and like hanging out in the camera. Absolutely adorable.
Keeps bumping my arms. Trying
Does
to
she
have a
speak?
conversation here.
Does she speak?
No, she's quiet, dude. And huskies are supposed to be super vocal. She doesn't. I've probably heard her bark like 20 times at most, man. She's super quiet. I love her.
Yeah, my dog Abby, she's downstairs on the couch right now. She doesn't come up because she'll eat the cat's food. But she's like super quiet until literally anything is outside of our house, and then she's like big dog like bark like it's
That's cool though.
Yeah.
You got the alarm system.
Yeah. Which we have an actual alarm system, but still, dogs are the #1 alarm system. I stand by that.
Dog is a mad deterrent.
Now, this is one game that I have purposefully steered away from bringing up, and I think that this belongs in the section of games that must have crossplay but don't. Okay? Destiny.
Oh yeah. That game, don't you just I feel like there's like a Mandela effect on Destiny where you're like, wasn't that a crossplay at one point? But it wasn't.
Wasn't it crossplay? I could have sworn it was perfect for crossplay. I could have sworn it already had all the server infrastructure in place that it would need to be able to be crossplay. I could have sworn that it would be tailor-made for something like this.
Yeah, dude.
But sure enough, no crossplay. I
think that game was released at a time where like crossplay still wasn't as prevalent as it is now. I think if they were to drop Destiny 2 today, it would have been a very strong possibility, but I think we've almost hit that point of no return now, where like they just won't do it. They'll make their expansions, but I don't think they'd add it.
I mean, okay, so Destiny 2 released on September 6th, 2017, and I was looking at it and I was like, are we sure that it released before the time period? And realistically, it did release before the time period of where it should have had it. Fortnite, like we said, got cross-platform play in 2018. Yeah. So it was 1 year too early to have been considered for why doesn't this game have crossplay? And as soon as Fortnite got it, people on the forums, people on Reddit, people on YouTube started rising up being like, Destiny when? This needs to happen. There is such a thriving community for Destiny across all the consoles and PC. Like, it's a game that should have crossplay. When they re-released the game or did like a fresh reboot of the game for First Light where they made it free to play and all that stuff, they should have done it then.
That would have been perfect.
I mean, that was the timeline. That was when it should have happened, and it still hasn't.
And I was going to bring that up because I think that would have been the most ideal time to do it when they moved it over from Steam to Battle.net, right?
Yeah, or Battle.net to Steam.
Oh, was it the other? Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was their golden opportunity. I think if it would have happened, that would have been when it would have happened, and so I think we're just SOL.
And I look at a game like Destiny 2 specifically, and I'm like, this is a game that has every type of content for every type of gamer that you could possibly want. It has the super sweaty PvP lobbies. It has the casual PvP lobbies that they did remove skill-based matchmaking from in like one of the updates in the last like year. I just remember them mentioning it. Like for their casual lobbies, they don't have it anymore for the people that were complaining about that. It does have easy PvE content if you just want to run around and do quests, run through the story missions. It does have a full campaign that you can go through. It has stuff that you can go out and you can just grind out in the open world. I mean, they've got holiday events. They've got all of these things that are perfect for just every level of gamer who's into the RPG loot grind to be playing. And it is a online, almost MMORPG game. Not quite like fully fledged MMO, but almost. I mean,
yeah.
I can't think of one game out right now that is better suited to crossplay than Destiny 2. Not even one.
I would have to agree with you, honestly.
Like,
I think that's it.
Yeah.
That game is, it's like I said right at the beginning. I almost look back on it and I'm like, wow, that was never a crossplay. That's so weird. Like something in my brain just tells me that it was, but
and that it should have been.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the only thing that comes to mind, and obviously, I mean, this is a long time ago now, what we're talking about. So Halo Combat Evolved, okay, when that came out. That was, I'm looking up the release date, November 15th, 2001. So we're looking at 19 years ago was the release of Halo Combat Evolved, okay? And one of the issues that they were having with porting Halo Combat Evolved over to PC and having to cap the frame rate at 60 FPS or 30 FPS, I think was what they initially did their tests at. Someone can fact check me on this if y'all get a chance, but was that the animations were coded to work the way that they worked based on the frame rate that the game was running at.
Oh.
So the only thing that I can think of, because this was when Bungie was still working on Halo, is for some reason these people made a horrible enough decision, okay, to look at Destiny and go, this is only going to run at this frame rate on console. We cannot have any of the console animations be coded to run at higher than this frame rate. And that is ludicrous. That is the dumbest idea ever to think about, and that is the only excuse that I can think of that they wouldn't have already been working on making this cross-platform.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, that would be the only excuse, and the only excuse that holds water, it was relevant 19 years ago.
19 years. Let that sink in, dude.
Yeah, we've come that far with the technology. We have the ability to do it. People should be able to play with who they want, when they want, where they want. It shouldn't matter. And as much as I hate the fact that Microsoft does not have any exclusives coming out on their console at launch, okay, because they just delayed Halo, which it needed the delay. Let's be clear here. It was looking rough. All right. They are doing more than anyone else in the industry to push cross-platform play and being able to play how you want, where you want, when you want. They're doing more than anybody else is doing. And I look at a game like Godfall specifically, which is one that you and me are both very excited about. And I'm like, I haven't heard anything on if this game will have cross-platform play or anything like that. And it's a third-person grindy RPG a la Destiny, you know?
Yeah, it looks just like it.
And it's a game that should have cross-platform play. I mean, I'm going to look it up right now. Godfall, cross-platform play.
Grub plays in chat. He says, every game that is made from now on should have crossplay. There's no excuse to not have it. And I think I would have to agree with him, man.
Yeah.
I really, that's the next step, I think. And I think we'll see exactly that. Just a whole lot of games coming out with these crossplay features. And I think it'll really help out Microsoft, honestly, for in the place where they lack exclusives, they're going to be able to make up for it in these crossplay games where it's like, okay, well, at least I can still play this game with this person even though I'm not on that console. You know what I mean? Like, it gives them more options right off the bat if these developers decide to make games cross-platform.
Yeah,
but who knows?
And I mean, from what I've seen of even looking at Godfall, I mean, it's not going to have cross-platform play.
It's not.
It looks like. So sorry, I'm like trying to research more right now, but yeah, from what I've seen, if they have crossplay, which this is even still a maybe, and this is from a post on Reddit, so I mean, like, you know, take this as you will. And then there was an article on CNN.com where an author was writing a little bit about like Microsoft consumer friendliness versus Sony and their exclusivity deal with Godfall and all that. They were saying you definitely won't be able to play cross-platform between PS4 and PS5. Which that is astounding to me. That's their own consoles, and they can't even get it together to like play those together. Maybe we'll be able to play cross-platform between PS5 and PC.
And it was Godfall isn't an exclusive, is it? It's on Xbox as well.
It will not be on Xbox at launch.
Oh shoot! Okay.
Yeah, that one will be only on PlayStation at launch.
My hot take is that if your game is literally on every console that exists, i.e. Grand Theft Auto 5, you should have crossplay.
PS5, like, PS4, PS3.
Why not, dude?
Yeah.
Like, at that point, you might as well. I can get it if it's an exclusive, like, between PC, PS4, Xbox, PC, but, you know, that's, like you said, that's one thing Xbox is doing right. Most of the games that are shared between Xbox and PC are crossplay. Same can't be really said with Sony right now.
Yep. I mean, they've just gotten around to finally releasing Horizon Zero Dawn on PC, and that was in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's a terribly optimized mess, but you can play it. It's there. You have the option. Yeah. And I think that more than anything, like I'm scared to think about this, but I think unfortunately we're gonna see more of the corporate side of gaming rearing its ugly head as we move into this next generation more than we have in any of the generations previous. We're going to see the microtransactions really getting pushed stronger than they ever have before because they've been proven to work, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. They continue to put them in games because people continue to buy them. And then you look at something like exclusivity deals. Realistically, there's a friend of mine that I work with who is a massive Spider-Man fan who will continue to buy PlayStation because Spider-Man is in PlayStation things and on the PlayStation console. He will not even look at Xbox because Spider-Man is not there. And Sony will continue to beat that drum, and they will continue to push Spider-Man and pick up exclusivity deals. We look at something like Godfall that was from a third-party developer that Sony purchased the timed, we'll see, exclusivity on. That's a game that I'm really excited to play, that people on Xbox probably would have really enjoyed, that they can't have because Sony was like, here's the Sony money. Mm-hmm. And then similarly, you look at Microsoft swing right back and buy ZeniMax Studios. So they've got Elder Scrolls, and Phil Spencer has been in talks saying, you know, why should we? Why should we release Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation consoles?
Yeah.
You know?
It's a good point. And I mean, if you guys want to hear more about that, we talked a lot about it on our first podcast.
We did, yes.
Up on YouTube.
Yes. And we didn't make this announcement last week. We kind of made the announcement last week, but to officially announce it for any of our live viewers, for anybody who's watching the YouTube video, we do have the podcast available now on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Amazon Music. So at your typical podcast services, you are more than welcome to check us out. Subscribe to our podcast. For those of you who are our live viewers, obviously, you guys are the best, and we appreciate you being here anyways. You guys already listen. Yeah. You're obviously the favorite children, okay? And to anyone out there...
Ever.
Yeah, exactly. This won't be edited out.
They can all hear it.
Everyone should know. You guys are the best. And realistically, to anyone whose parents said that they didn't have a favorite child, they lied to you. I'm sorry, they did. They did have a favorite child. That's just not true. And you guys, the live viewers, you're our favorite children. Okay.
That's right.
But moving on, we've got a couple of more announcements as we close. Obviously, this one's kind of like a self-shout out here. I am doing my birthday stream tomorrow. It will be Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. I will be playing Among Us for the first time. I probably am going to play some Fall Guys. I'm probably going to be playing a couple of other different games just to try to mix it up, but I will be playing Among Us for the very first time. So if you want to get in on the lobby, be sure to DM me. Right now, I have interest from my wife wants to play. Joker has mentioned he wants to play. One of my mods and my best friend, the Mad Hatter, has said that he wants to play. So there are people who are interested. So just like give a shout out if that's something you want to get in on. We're going to be getting started at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Woohoo, birthday time. We're going to have a great time. I
can't wait to bamboozle all of you, dude. I can't wait.
Yeah, Joker's actually good at Among Us, so.
I'm correct. I'm good at the social games. I'm a talker. What can I say?
Yeah. Also, we do have next week's guest already lined up. I probably should check and see if he messaged me back on Discord before I make this announcement to be sure. He didn't even message me back. You love to see it, but it's okay. But my buddy Lemur, personal friend of mine, I've known him since I was 6 years old, is one of my childhood friends. He's also a streamer. He's going to be on the stream next week. We have not quite decided on a topic yet because we want to touch base with him and see what he was cool talking about. So we will be live on Saturday again with a pre-show at 2 p.m. Pacific time next Saturday. And then we will be doing the show at 3 p.m. Pacific time with our buddy Lemur. Yes, Lemur, I see you in the chat. Also, for anyone who wanted to just like do any questions or like comments, shout outs, anything like that while we're closing down the show right now and just like doing our tie-ups, feel free to throw those in chat right now. If you guys have anything that you want us to talk about or discuss as we're doing our close, just bring it on. Throw the questions. We love to hear about it. Also, for anybody who wants to email into the show, send in comments, anything like that, suggestions, feedback, be sure to send it to, for those of you in the chat, gamingtonic1@gmail.com. You can just copy paste that right there and send us emails, send us love letters, fan fiction, whatever it is that you want to do. We're into all of it. Please send it our way. We have a great time with that. Also, for anybody who would like to be on the show, for our listeners and YouTube viewers, since you don't have access to the chat, feel free to send it to the previous email that I just listed that you're interested in being on the show, and we will reach out to you with an application that you can fill out. For those of you watching here on the show and then on YouTube, you should have a link below the video whenever it is that you're watching this. Yeah.
I threw links in.
Perfect. Feel free to just fill out the application right there, send it in, and we would love to have you on the show. If you're a content creator, if you make YouTube videos, if you stream on Twitch, if you have your own podcast, if you love video games and you know a lot about something specific, get up in here. We'd like to have you. Right. Also, is there anything else as far as closing announcements? Wait a minute. I know what it is. Joker, if people don't know where to find you, where can they find you?
They can find me at twitch.tv/theordinaryjoker. Or with my Twitter link right here that I so kindly put in chat, along with Vince's Twitter and our Gaming Tonic podcast Twitter. Follow all those for updates on me, Vince, or the podcast itself. And I will appreciate you eternally.
Yep. Awesome. And for those of you who don't know where you can find me, obviously you are here watching me on my Twitch channel. If you're watching the live show and you are our best and favorite viewers, otherwise you're more than welcome to catch me at Just Vince if you're listening on our podcast services. Just Vince on Twitch or at Vince0094 on Twitter, like you mentioned. So, everybody who came out to the show today, y'all are absolutely amazing, wonderful, incredible people. The best of the best. Obviously our favorites.
Cream of the crop.
The cream of the crop?
I always hated that. The cream of the crop, dude.
I kind of like it. I mean, I kind of hate it, but I kind of like it because I hate it.
Just like rolls off the tongue too well. Cream of the crop.
And into your stomach.
Yeah, it's like it goes in and it keeps going, dude. I don't know how to explain it.
I can't tell if I'm comfortable or uncomfortable as you say it more.
Cream of the crop.
Well, thank you everybody so much for coming out to this week's episode of Gaming Tonic. We will see you tomorrow at the birthday stream if you're going to be there, and if not, we will see you next Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time for the pre-show or 3 p.m. Pacific time for the live show. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye. Bye.